Hey guys, welcome. In this video we are going to take a look at dynamic link libraries. Alright, so these allow us to have functionality in a DLL, and then that functionality can be brought into our own program. So we'll make the following. Go to File, New Project, and now you are going to choose this class library and change the name here to something more memorable. So for example here, arithmetic ops, like this, okay? And click OK. Now, in my case, that already exists, so I'll change it here to arith ops, just like that, you see? Click OK. Alright, so there's our class library. Now, we are going to have a namespace arith ops. Let's change this here to public class calculator. Let's add a couple methods to it. So public dynamic say add, and then dynamic x and dynamic y, like that. And then you are going to say, of course, return x plus y. Let's do one more. So public dynamic divide, dynamic x and dynamic y, and then we are going to say here if y equals 0, say 0.0, like that. Then we'll display a message, so that will say return 0.0, like this, because we cannot divide by it. Else, let's say return math dot round, and then we'll say here x divided by y comma 2, meaning 2 decimal places. Okay, so this is the code. That's our calculator class. And what we are going to do now is build it, and look very carefully what happens when you build this. Let's also remove some of these here. So the only thing that is left is system. Simple enough. Let's give it a build. Give it a sec, let it build. Alright. So you see on the bottom where it says arithops.dll. Take this whole path, highlight it. You can do that with shift and the left arrow if you're going from right to left. And do Control C on that. Okay, on that path. We want that. Alright, so save this now. Alright, let's close this. And now what we're going to do is go to File, New, Project, and then a console application. I'll leave the name, that's okay. Load the usual template, give it a sec. Alright, so first of all, you can just delete all this. Give it a sec, sometimes it's a little slow, especially when I record the screen. Let me delete that. And the first thing that we are going to do is add a reference to our DLL. So references here, you're going to right click, add reference. And there are some built ones, for example built-in ones, but really just hit browse. And you should have copied that path, because now we'll paste that path in here. Okay, delete that last arithops.dll and hit enter. And now arithops.dll comes up here, you see? Alright, so click add. And click OK. Give it a second, because now this is adding something external. And notice that it shows up here in the references. You see this? Okay, so now you've learned how to do that. Now to access the functionality stored there, you're going to say using, and then arith ops, like this. You see, you can use that whole namespace. Within that namespace, of course, is our calculator, so you can access that now. And we are going to basically say here calculator. You see how that shows up? And it tells you arithops.calculator. So arithops is the namespace, calculator is the class within the namespace. The calculator, we'll call this, of course, new calc equals a new calculator, like that. Okay, and then we'll say here dynamic x equals 5 points that, and then dynamic y equals some other value there. Of course, these should be read in from the user. And then we'll say console.writeLine and sum is placeholder, comma, and now you will say here new calc dot, and then of course add, and then specify x and y, close that with a semicolon, and console.writeLine. The ratio is, okay, placeholder, period, just so it's grammatically correct. Likewise above, comma, new calc, dot, and now divide, and now x dot y, close that with a semicolon. There we are. Okay, so we have just accessed the functionality we've created in external namespace. So let's give this a build, make sure everything takes. There you go, so build 1 succeeded. That is what we want to see. And of course this, as you can see, has created console application 561.exe. Okay, so this creates an executable file, whereas the other one was a DLL. That's not executable. Okay, that's usable by an application like ours. Alright, if we go now to debug and start without debugging one time. And it says the sum is, the ratio is, and press any key to continue. So that looks like this. Okay. Now here, if you go debug and step into, right, it's going to bring you over here. It's going to step into the body of main. That's what's loaded on the call stack. Right, make that calculator object, assign values, call that. And notice that in that case, when you call it, it actually opens up. You see this, using system namespace arith ops. It actually opens that up. Right, calls the add method, and now it's going to call the divide method, so you can still step through the DLL like that. You see, and then of course it unloads once the application has finished running. Alright, and that's it. So what you've just learned is how to make a DLL, a class library, then how to add a reference to it, then how to incorporate that functionality into an executable like this class program here. Okay, by introducing the namespace. If you don't use the namespace the way it is written up top, you should also be able to see this class calculator. You should be able to write arith ops dot and then calculator. Okay, that should also work in terms of being able to resolve the class name like that. You see arith and then ops.calculator. That should also be able to resolve it. You see, it's able to identify it, and the underlining disappears. Now, obviously, you don't want to sit there typing, the same arith ops 95 times if you're using a lot of the functionality. So it's much more convenient to take that, uncomment that, and then have the solid code in this form. Right, and that is it. So thanks very much, and I'll see you in another video.